people worry that they're going to, cause problems by asking their doctor to rule stuff out. But it's that just testing things and having the care is what brings your anxiety down significantly. Fear impacts all areas of your life: relationships, career, children, health anxiety. And if you come from a place of fear, how will you have the energy to move through life with grace and purpose when you're operating at this lower frequency? In episode 16 of Embrace You First, we talked about the top fears and recognizing the impact that fear has on us as humans. And today we're going to talk about some solutions. We talked a lot about solutions in that episode, but today we're going to dive deeper into more solutions around how we can cope with fear, recognize fear, and move through and past fear. And
yes. Mm-hmm. And, to start off with, I'm just going to read a quote from Huangdi Neijing, Su Wen, which is basically the first medical textbook from China. And that was written about 2nd or 1st century BCE. There's no specific data on exactly when, but around that era. Either way, really a heck of a long time ago. And
Can you say that again? I love how you said that.
What's that?
Huangdi Neijing.
Oh, Huangdi Neijing.
Awesome.
And my Chinese suck, by the way.
Oh, come
on. Anyway, okay. Fear leads to loss of Jing, which results in obstruction of the upper burner. When this is obstructed, qi cannot return to it, and this causes distension of the lower burner. That is why it is said that qi sinks. So I'll give a link to that, where we got it from, and in the show notes. But basically what that means is loss, like when we talk about fear leads to loss of Jing. Jing in Chinese medicine, we talk about essence, and essence, what is it? It's like part of this energy that you're born with. So
like your vitality, right?
It is a vitality. Mm-hmm. We're all born with a certain amount of energy. So there is what we called the hereditary Jing. So Jing is inherited. So we were born with it. It's in a limited amount. That's one kind of energy. There's also another kind of energy that we get through food and drink, for example, gu qi. So that's derived through nourishment. So in our podcast, we want to, look at how do we save our energy, and then how do we acquire that energy that we can extract from our food, environment, our psyche. Right?
How do we restore our Jing or conserve our Jing and our vitality? Our
Jing. Yes, exactly.
And flourish it.
Yes, exactly.
Nourish it. Mm-hmm.
And nourish it. And the problem with the fear, and we mentioned it in our last episode, is that fear is part of the human condition. It is a part of our automatic recall, so to speak, right? So it's not like we can get rid of it. However, when we have chronic fear, and we've been living in COVID for almost a year, and then never mind all the other stuff that we're dealing with in our personal lives. So we mentioned it in the last episode, there's like plenty of fear every day. And when it's, how do we relieve some of the fear? And if it gets congested or internalized, and if it obstructs us, well, where does it go? Well, we say in Chinese medicine that it can cause obstruction of qi energy into our upper burner. Upper burner is like literally this part of the body, right? I mean, people who get panic attacks will tell you, where do they feel it? They feel it in their chest. They feel it rise into their heads. Like it's a very physiological, tangible thing that happens.
Right. So for people who are listening, you were describing the triple burner, right? Upper burner.
Upper
so
burner,
from like the belly up, basically, like belly up.
Yeah.
Belly,
like
chest.
Chest up, actually.
Right.
Chest up, right?
Which makes sense, because when people feel, stuck or blocked qi, it's like that chest tightness they'll often describe, right?
Yes, that's right.
Left side, they think they're having a heart attack, but it's actually blocked energy in their
Yes.
Burner.
Yes, very good. And so there's different symptoms that each individual may have. So, and you named
Yes.
one of them, right? So some of them, like I had a lady last 2 weeks, she says, "Oh my gosh, Mary, I feel like I can't swallow, like something's
Right.
sitting in my throat."
Right. We
And
call
there's
that
so much.
plum chi syndrome,
Very
right?
good.
Like
Plum pit
stuck
chi.
energy in the throat. Actually,
Yes.
let's talk about that because I have a lot of patients with that. And I think it's really important people recognize that that is often, like in energetic medicine, we say it's like it's your throat chakra. And it's like you've got, stuck like energy that you can't communicate. And then we've got our
Yes.
thyroid. You've got your thyroid there, right? And then, you've also got your esophagus. So if you're having difficulty swallowing information, so you feel like every time you swallow, there's a sensation. I mean, it could be something, a physical manifestation. It could be, gastroesophageal reflux disorder causing a thickening of your esophagus, so esophagitis inflammation. But it could also literally be, if you ruled out bigger things like that, it literally could be stuck energy, plum
Yes.
chi pit syndrome, right? Is that how you
Yes.
say it? Plum chi.
Plum pit chi.
Oh,
Or
plum pit chi,
running.
sorry.
Here's another fun one, running piglet chi. But anyway, that's
Is
a
that really?
different discussion.
No.
It is a thing for sure.
Okay,
That
okay.
that happens with fear as well. But
Okay.
in terms of plum pit chi, how it can
Yeah.
manifest, because if you just think about it, in Chinese medicine or in China in general, we have these little plums, and the plum pits are this size. And imagine it's actually
Ah.
physically stuck. So that
Oh,
it
that's where it
feels like
comes
that's
from the name.
yes. So because
Oh,
you can actually choke on a plum
yeah.
pit.
Yes.
So, and that's what it would feel like, right?
Right. I never understood. I always knew the name. And then in Western medicine, they say it's let me grab that from the ethers of my brain. Like, but basically it's like dysphagia, difficulty swallowing. But it'll come to me in a second. There is another term that they'll often use.
Yes. Yes, but I mean, it's tangible. We
But
all recognize it, and we see it so often. You said it yourself, right? We see it in our practice.
And we think
But
there's something wrong with us when you have it, like
yes,
something physically wrong, and it's scary, like that's where you swallow, it's how you breathe, right? So if you
yes,
have that sensation and everything's been ruled out, note that you are okay and you probably have anxiety and
yes,
you can address it.
and we can address it. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll give another point. Another lady that I had, and she's in her 70s. I don't know if I brought this up in another episode, but she had relatives in another country that contracted COVID and died. And she
Mm,
herself is over 80. And so
mm.
she came in complaining about her inability to breathe. And she would hold here and says, I have shortness of breath and I've got COVID checked 3 times and, and she
Aw.
doesn't have it. And really in the end, and I told her, I said, consider that, yes, it's manifested physically, but thankfully, no test results in any kind of physiological disorder, right?
Right.
But it's this emotional distress, the fear, the worry, the anxiety is there so prevalent every day since COVID started that it's manifested on a daily basis where she feels this shortness of breath every single day. And so we were treating her and she was, calmed her anxiety to a point. But, when you're in that level of fear, still not understanding why it's happening, you can just imagine how it can increase her anxiety, right? So
Definitely.
you might want to get more testing done. And so she did. And in the end, again, nothing was found tangibly.
Right.
But then she was put on
Anti-anxiety meds.
anxiolytic,
Yeah.
right? And then
Anxiolytics.
that helped, right?
Yeah.
So again, when we talk about psychosomatic, there's this
Mm-hmm.
almost this negative stigma. And I have to
Mm-hmm.
tell you that it is real, it's
It is.
tangible. And so
Yes.
we need to take it seriously and not
Yeah.
fluff it off like it's nothing.
Yeah.
And there are solutions. So today is
Right.
solutions based
Mm-hmm.
conversation about,
Right.
how are you going to deal with our fears? So yes, so we just named one.
Right.
Yes, you could take actual pharmacological drugs. That is one methodology.
Mhm.
If everything else that you've tried has not helped. And it doesn't mean that you need to be on it for the rest of your life, but it is a solution. Now,
There are herbal solutions that,
exactly.
even there's a medication, valproic acid, which is used for bipolar, but also severe anxiety. And the constituent valeric acid that comes from the herb valerian actually is how they constructed valproic acid. So it's kind of interesting. A lot of pharmaceuticals come from plant medicine, herbal medicine.
Thank you for saying that.
Right?
Yes.
It's kind of fascinating. And I remembered it was globus, a globus hystericus is what you'll often call it, or globus sensation, which is the nicer way to say it, because globus hystericus sounds like you're hysterical, and that's not very nice, right? Just like you said, that negative connotation. It's like, it's like a real physical manifestation from anxiety, this choking feeling, and it's okay. You got to address it clearly and rule out bigger things. But it's like people worry that they're going to, cause problems by asking their doctor to rule stuff out. But it's that just testing things and having the care is what brings your anxiety down significantly. And it's okay. We pay into OHIP, and you need your health taken care of. It's okay to ask, right?
And thank you for bringing that point in. I'm going to jump in because I'm going to lose this thought.
Yeah, do it. Because I'm done.
Okay, because here's the thing. What's happening when you have that, what we call that plum pit chi? We are stopped. We are not breathing. We are breathing shallowly. We are not voicing ourselves. And I say, when you have the symptom, allow it to be an opportunity. Allow it to be the prod that you need so that you can actually voice yourself. Give yourself the voice and assert yourself. And then you can gain power by, yes, I need testing. Yes, let's check it out. And let's look at other alternative solutions. And okay, fine, maybe a pharmacological drug can work, but how about we try other things, right? So acupuncture is one. There's lots of naturopathic supplemental things that we can use, like as we talk about the adrenals last time, right? And then in Chinese herbal medicine, there are great herbal medicines, decoctions that have been used for thousands of years, literally for this kind of condition.
What's a couple of acupressure points that you can do?
That's really great. Thank you.
Describe a couple. Yeah. When you're kind of in panic, anxiety, maybe you're moving through the five senses, as we talked about in the last episode. But while you're doing that, to ground yourself, what could you press on to do the feeling part of the five senses? Right?
Love it. Yeah. So you guys need to listen back or watch back the last episode, because we went through the five senses and then the triggers, right? And then come back at it with some of the solutions. And one of the tangible solutions that you can do to ground yourself is literally you put your feet on the floor, right? You sit up, you put your feet on the floor, and you put your heart right to your chest. And here's the thing: this is the midline, and there's there's a whole bunch of, what is this, horizontal, vertical. 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 The meridian energies, right? Most of them run vertically from top to bottom. So literally, as you lay your hand across your chest, you are covering a bunch of different meridian lines, right? So one is a conception. It's like our vitality of life comes through our conception vessel. And right across, like here to speak and here, like, so you can actually, like, we can do really pinpointed, right? There's a point straight between the breast line, right between the
right where your nipple lines, right? Yeah.
CV17. And that means it's literally called the middle, the upper middle. And it kind of, well, it doesn't kind of, it helps us connect with our source and with the heavens. So if we look at it in terms of energetically speaking, with the heavens, it's like, gosh, like there's an energy outside of our bodies. It's like, let's tap into that. Right. So upper heavens. And so beautiful. You can touch it like this. And actually mine is sore right now.
Mine too.
I'm like, holy cow, I didn't know. Yeah. And if that's uncomfortable, and if you just want to rest, I wish I can show you better. Okay, there, like if I come up, you'll see I'm literally just resting my hand, my palm, and connecting to that. And what's really fascinating, by the way, is that straight in the middle, there's an acupuncture point, and it's under the pericardium channel and the pericardium 8. And we want to tap that against this because we're connecting the heart with the kidney and the upper middle. And gosh, like we're connecting so many things because there's lots of different meridian energy channels that run through our body and that connects with our inner self, right? All the organ systems. And so you want to do this while your shoulders are relaxed, and you want to do this while you're breathing. And just that touch, that self touch, is also that sensory that we spoke about earlier, right? In that other episode.
Yes.
Through
Yes.
touch is healing. And we don't even touch ourselves enough.
True. I want to bring up the breathing aspect just for a moment, because a lot of
Yes.
people take deep breaths when they're having panic or fear, and they can hyperventilate. So what I often will say with those 5 5s is just recognize your breathing. Don't fight what it's doing. Just recognize it. Don't push it away, but maybe focus on the other 5 feelings that you can think of that might help you stay grounded, like this particular, hand on chest, and, feel your feet grounded on the floor, the clothes on your body, the wind, if there is any. Just kind of think about 5 feelings that actually don't really involve breath, until you've moved through the 5 5s. And then if you want, you can just kind of slow your breathing, because
That's great.
if you over breathe, that can turn you into, this like hyperventilation state where you're breathing too much oxygen in, and you can feel faint and dizzy. And it's, so because we often advocate in the naturopathic and holistic and traditional Chinese medicine world to, when you're stressed, do some deep breathing, but sometimes it's not the thing to do.
Really,
you know what I mean?
Yes, I love that, because when you're in that panic mode, this is what happens. I'll actually demonstrate.
Yes, do it. Yes.
So when someone says, or you're like listening or to an app that says, okay, take deep breaths for a count of 4. And I actually say this to patients, but what I'll catch them doing is this.
Yeah.
And then like, holy cow, what is that?
Yeah. You're tightening your diaphragm.
Yes, right. So it's not. So then I have to go back and redirect and say, okay, it's not like it's so big that you're gonna like explode. You're gonna breathe softly, in a relaxed manner, and that might be a long.
And even hold your breath at the top of the breath, because then that way you're not over breathing. So it's like, breathe in, imagine a balloon in your chest and your belly filling up. So your diaphragm's actually relaxed and dropping. And then at the top of the breath, as you're at your fullest maximum balloon size, then hold for a couple of seconds and then release, rather than just the big short breaths. It's like kind of slower, hold your breath so you don't do the hyperventilation.
Yes.
Again, I wouldn't even do the breathing part until you're calmer and you've moved
I love that.
5 senses.
Yes.
And also listening to apps we talk about. Sorry, remember that thought. I'm sure it's a good one. So sorry. So it's like, we're like excited. So so like we often say, listen to Relax Melodies app or Calm app. But if you're in panic, the last thing sometimes you want to do is listen to an app of somebody telling you what to do and to breathe.
Gosh, yeah.
And so it's actually really important to listen to those apps when you're actually at your calmest, to train your brain so that your response to the panic and the fear is just, you're training it. It's like exercise. You're like exercising your brain for meditation, so that then when you do have a fear or a stressful event, that you're then calmer in the response. Does that make sense?
Yes. So you're basically saying, do it proactively as a ritual, so that when you actually encounter the stress, you'll, number one, be more calm and at peace, and you're able to harness in on the parasympathetic nervous system easier. And then what I was going to go on before I lose my train of thought, and when you're speaking to the breathing, when we're laying our hand on our chest, we're automatically tapping into that sense again of that self-connection. So there's self-connection through breath, but there's self-connection through our personal touch of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And it may also help us connect to our bodies easier than, because we really easily go straight into our heads. So when we lay our hands on our chests, we're connecting to our bodies. That's
kind of like when you have a boo-boo or you have an injury and you rub it. It doesn't do anything for the injury. You're not making the injury better, but you're just like,
it's not true.
Oh, actually, I guess you are. You're displacing the chi, right?
You're displacing the chi, but in a physiological level, you're actually enhancing the blood flow into that area. So you're creating a quicker healing.
Because we're always like, rub it.
Yeah, rub it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but it helps you with the just grounding, and it gives you another sensation to focus on too. But in addition to, improving circulation and displacing chi. So you are totally right.
Gosh, we spent 19 minutes doing all this.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That
so we got
hilarious.
Going.
So I do want to talk about, go ahead. Yeah.
Like, I haven't even finished covering the coat, by the way, because there's a part. But
okay.
You know what? We actually no, but we covered it in our first episode, because
that's right.
The distension of the lower burner. We talked about that when I read the quote. And the lower burner is then our lower body. Right. And how that manifests. And we talked about poo and pee and
yes. So one thing you could do is, if you are having reactions, like physiological reactions to stress, and it is gone to your lower burner, like we described in a funny way in our last episode, or not the last one, but the one on fear, what would you do? Like, I guess heat is something you can do if it's something chronic. Like, what are some things or an acupressure point? Let's say somebody had irritable bowel and like loose stool all the time, not just when they are, a little nervous and going on a podcast or TV or whatever. Yes. What would you suggest?
So, so the energy for that is sinking too much. So we want to uplift the energy. So in that place, there's a point straight on top of your head, right? The place of 100 meetings, Bai Hui. And it is
governing vessel 20 or something.
Yes. Okay. So you can find it by placing your
like reindeer hands.
your thumbs
reindeer
to the top of your ears. And yes, you can make reindeer ears. And then you take your tip of your fingers, whether it's like the index finger or the middle fingers, and where it meets at the very center and at the very
crown of the head,
at the crown, or some people recognize this as the crown chakra, right?
Right.
And again, it's another point of tension. Like if you feel it can be a little tender.
If you're balding, you have perfect access.
Perfect, yeah.
Right?
And this is a place where anatomically, the fontanelles, the skull bones, they meet here. So there's this natural, even as adults, there's slight shifts in it, right? And so it can get stuck. And here we are communicating with the rest of our body, all of the yang energy in our body. So we can calm it down. Yang is that active, moving outward. So this is going to be calming as it taps into that yang energy and say, let's uplift it. Let's have it be more relaxed. And as you do this, just again, allow yourself to notice your body so that your shoulder is not tense as you put it. And I like what you're doing. So for those that are listening to the podcast, Tanya is placing her one hand on her chest and one hand on her governing vessel 20 Bai Hui, which is at the top or the crown of the head. So this is really great. And then you can just sit here for, even if it's a minute, right? That can help with how you are feeling.
So yeah, it's amazing how just creating space for 1 minute, 3 times per day, when you actually set a timer for 1 minute, I do it with patients sometimes. They're like, wow, that 1 minute felt like 5 or longer. Totally. Because how often do we spend just quiet?
Yes.
And just sitting in our space comfortably, calmly? Not very often.
No.
And it just adds time to your day. And which actually I want to bring up, so important in uncertain times to create certainty with routines is so key, so important.
And then let's finish off with the routines and then our cups, because we're already over 20 minutes, and then we'll have to do another episode on fear.
We are so verbose. I love it. Yes. So really important. We talked about morning routines in an episode with Evan DeMarco, not the one with his book, but another one, which we'll put in the show notes. But basically just morning routines are so key. And a lot of patients say, how do you even have time for a morning routine? And one of the things we talked about, which I thought was really key, and it was my favorite part of the whole episode, there's a whole bunch of stuff we covered, but is figuring out how much sleep is necessary. Are you getting enough sleep, but maybe are you giving yourself too much time to sleep? Perhaps you could cut out, like if you're getting 8 or 9 hours, you could actually give yourself 7 to 8 and then free up time in the morning and go to bed a little bit earlier to get up earlier in the morning when the world is quiet, and create your time and your space for your morning routine then. And
that's a really great
skimping on. Yeah.
Because there are some of these people now, I actually had a woman come in just the other day and she's like, I can't get enough sleep and I just want to sleep the whole time. She's so tired, because there's a lot of fear and a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Fear is exhausting when all your energy goes into that. But then if you're not, for example, making the time to work off that fear, sleep isn't you're going to have restless sleep. So you need to work it out. You need to exercise.
Love it.
How do you find the time? Well, you create the time. And sometimes it may be like a routine shift where now you're kind of tired for a few days because maybe you had poor, not very deep sleeps, didn't give yourself 8 or 9 hours in bed for restless sleep, which maybe gave you 4 or 5 hours of deep sleep. You're giving yourself more time in bed just for that 4 to 5 hours. But if you could give yourself less time in bed, more solid deep sleep by creating that morning routine of journaling and working out and sipping your tea, reading something productive, listening to a podcast like this one, just doing some kind of routine that gets you setting your day and exercising off your nervous energy, suddenly your sleep is shorter, but deeper and more effective sleep.
Love it. Okay. So we're talking about morning routines. What was the other one?
Just routines in general, just creating routines. Yes. Because the world is very uncertain. We have no idea what is going on. Like even, so lockdown to freedom-ish to, mask wearing to now back to lockdown in some areas of the greater Toronto area and in Ontario and lots of different parts of the world. So, I have a friend in Israel and they're kind of going in and out of lockdown. So just, in the US and it's so uncertain, and routines are key, and our bodies are so habituated to, we like routine, we like habit. And if you're creating good habits and keeping them going and a routine going, it's going to create certainty in your brain. So you're having a moment of fear and you have perhaps no resolve or nothing to do towards, you don't have a solution for it. But you can just jump back into the routine, like the habit. So people often say when they take time off work, they're like, what do I do with myself? And then that's even more stressful than, working. So people, if you get injured and for some, but for many, I find that people want to just get back to work into the routine. But you're right. Some people would rather not work.
Yes. Mm-hmm. It depends on how you associate yourself with work.
Yes, true.
But okay, well, not but. Let's just finish off on a high note with our what filled your cup today, and so that you can yourself ask what is filling your cup. So you start, I'll finish, and then you ask yourself. And when I say you, I mean the audience listening. Right.
So you're asking the audience to ask themselves.
Yes, after we do ours. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, definitely journal it as part of your routine. I personally have just found myself more grounded in moments with the kids and just having bigger snuggle hug times. And I just after going through 8 years of completing our family, I've always tried, didn't actually come with much effort, but I super appreciate and I'm so grateful for my children. But sometimes I have moments where I feel distracted as a parent, especially with everything that's going on in the world. And so my daughter started saying, mommy, are you listening or are you looking at your phone? And I'm like, here I am telling all my patients to put their phones down. I'm like, I got to stop doing it. So I've been really good about putting my phone down and just having those connection moments with them.
I love it. I love it. I sense it. By the way, I notice it because you used to be texting me back and forth like crazy. Now
there's a delay.
And it's convenient for me, but now there's a delay and I said, good for you. That's how I respond when I see it.
Yeah. Because I'm just I hide it. I put it somewhere. So
and that's exactly what I do. I leave it behind.
Present.
Yeah. So that's really great. And so for me, you're talking about sleeping less and creating a morning routine. Well, here's the thing. I am that person that does the morning routine, and I have been waking up at 5:30, latest 6, sometimes 5:15, whatever it is, but early, right? And so what filled my cup this morning was that I actually gave myself permission to sleep in, because in the middle of the night, my husband went to the bathroom and then I was up, and then I was excited about today's episode. So I was up for a little bit thinking, and I thought, oh no, let me just meditate on this and breathe. So then I fell asleep. And so I naturally woke up just before 7 a.m. So I could have gone into the place of, oh my gosh, I blew my morning routine. I didn't. And I just said to myself, I gave my permission to do something that was necessary and that was needed. And I will still be on my routine. It's not going to stop me. It's not like, oh my gosh, now I give up, right? It's
No, you
like,
listen to your body and then you'll
yes.
bounce back. I love it. Mhm.
As a way to get our podcast out into the world, let's have you join us in our mission to make an impact. And how you can help us is by going on iTunes, on the Apple Podcasts, and subscribe, give us a 5-star rating. And as you do that, take a screenshot of it and DM us at our Instagram account, which is at Embrace You First. And when you do that, at the end of the month, we will pick one lucky winner, and you're going to get a 30-minute free consultation with one of us. So basically, Dr. Tanya and I will alternate months where we can provide a 30-minute free consult. So whether you are a person just looking at your personal health, or if you're a practitioner looking at ways to how to build your career, we are here to help you. So check that out, do that, and it's going to be awesome.
If you like this episode, please share and comment. Go to embraceyoufirst.com and subscribe if you haven't already. And please share our website. We give a lot of useful tips. We love to share. And if you want to give us a topic of discussion, please do comment under the show or under our notes and let us know what you'd like us to talk about. So thank you so much for listening. We look forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Enjoy the day.